Hey everyone, welcome to a new video for the Timeline Park contest. In this video I will show all the Stage 2 parks and I will read out their stories. Now, some people actually submitted their Stage 2 park after the review stage, so they were not included in that, but I will be able to include them in this video. Also, some people have not submitted their Stage 2 park yet after submitting a park for stage 1. So yeah, I will still be waiting for those. But yeah, it's nice to see so many people actually joining this contest. I think it's really fun to watch all these parks slowly grow. Alright, I will now start showing all the parks, reading out the stories, and we'll do this in alphabetical order. Okay, here's the park from Amy. The Island of Sadness, Part 2. The beach began to get more clean because the free coffees were really helping. To help more, Amy and Lily planted some lemon and orange trees in an orchard and were selling freshly squeezed juice to make more money to help the environment. They added some nice tables for people to sit and enjoy their drink. They got a new coaster made from recycled steel and it's 10 quid a ride. They put a sign on it saying, "Save the environment, please." The pony ride was a lot of fun and people wanted to ride it over and over. Amy and Lily were quite proud of themselves. Everything is going well so far. Okay, here's the park from AstroTurd. Inspired by the success of the original outpost, the king sees an opportunity to expand his domain into the confluence. He intends to use the waters of the region as conduits to spread his power. As such, the next logical step is to establish a port. The docks are built, but the reputation of the confluence stalls exploration. Not to be dissuaded, the king hatches a plan. He will attract new settlers by repairing the reputation of the confluence. What was once a source of fear and foreboding to his people will become the most exquisite entertainment center of the kingdom, a symbol of his power and a testament to the prosperity of his domain. He tasks his inventors with creating an attraction at the site. Working with the king's carpenters and ferromancers, they create a ride they dub an exhilaration railway. The name needs work, but the attraction is a success. Additional settlers converge on the area. The king is determined to move forward with his plan. The confluence will become a jewel of his kingdom. Okay, here's the park from Axolotl. To whomever is still out there. They are following me. I don't know how long I have left, nor if these messages will ever reach anyone. But someone needs to know what we have done. We should never have created Lake Cryptid. My name is Diana J. Lynch, and I was part of an ethics special unit of the Secret Research and Containment Organization sent to Site 92 approximately 1 year ago. By the time our team arrived, the administrator has already ordered an expansion of the fictional theme park, Lake Cryptid, to get more test subjects for the various anomalies found nearby. The increased budget allocation allowed rapid expansion of the park, such as pavement and added decorations. A small themed junior coaster, Nessie, was built over the old dock and attracted guests from all over the country. Despite the committee arguing against the morality of sending unknowing guests into RC-73 and having them vanish forever, the administrator vetoed our decision and claimed that the merry-go-round must be researched to the fullest extent and understood as soon as possible. It wasn't until months later that we finally understood the importance of these anomalies. But by then, it was already too late. File extracted from a laptop found near the remains of Site 92, 3 months after redacted. Okay, here's the park from Bakuraj. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He actually submitted his Stage 1 and Stage 2 entry at the same time, so you haven't seen it before in the previous video. Alright, here we go. 4 years have passed since the park has been sent back in time. The time machine is not able to be repaired with the available materials. The park owners decided to build the Caveman a miniature golf course. The land has reclaimed the park, however. Vegetation from the era has grown rampant throughout the park. The park has survived numerous attacks by the T-Rex and close encounters with other dinosaurs. The parking lot along the Hoover cars were salvaged to build a perimeter fence around the park to make it more secure. The cavemen have come to help the park. They have brought their trained raptors to help the robot to defend the park from the T-Rex. With their efforts, the T-Rex will finally be pushed back beyond the fences. A new threat looms in the distance, though. A volcano slowly emerges from the ground. Although not active right now, who is to say it won't become active in the future? Tune in next time to learn the fate of the park. Okay, here you can see my park. You've probably already seen it in the announcement video. But yeah, I don't mind sharing my story again. So here we go. After James Dirkling's initial success with the go-kart track on the land that he inherited from his father, he knew it was time to expand. Together with people from the local town, he raised enough money for them to buy a small coaster. With the go-kart track in the way for any expansion, James knew he had to buy some extra land to change the track layout. He struck a deal with his brothers to buy some more of their land so he could divert the track. He also bought an old barn, which now serves as the station for the new coaster, which he named Combine Harvester. Alright, then here's a park from Dogs. He's one of my favorite creators. And he always has great stories. Alright, let's begin. I originally had a lot more planned for this month. After characteristically biting off more than I could chew, I had to reel back my vision to fit the time I allotted for myself. Regardless, I had a few goals that I believe I achieved. The first, learn how to quickly make an overcrowded parking lot with every space filled. And the second, design my very first coaster with only track and texture supports. You'll have to let me know how well I did. I feel pretty good about it. The news. Dogstown Press. Abandoned business park drafted for main event. After demolition mysteriously halted at local eyesore Barks Park, Dogstown has been desperate for tenants to utilize the land constructively. In a bizarre temporary development, the Dogstown Agricultural Board has reared up to employ a section of the overgrown land to host their annual draft horse competition. While the competition is usually part of the larger Dogstown Fair, after receiving a nipping from Dogstown for tearing up a majority of the public field, they have decided to relocate that specific aspect across the street to the abandoned business park. In order to attract visitors from the rest of the fair and festivities, a few family-oriented thrill rides have been relocated from the larger fairgrounds to occupy the space. Please come and enjoy these attractions and cheer on your favorite teams. Okay, here's the park from Enox, this lovely train yard. After the success of the Steam event, the museum was given a chance to buy a second-hand junior coaster from a local manufacturer who provides rides from ABC Rides Switzerland. They decided to go ahead with it, and they were excited that it came with train cars. They also purchased the nearby farmland, so they could start a little theme park for the locals. They bought a little Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round and hired some food stalls. This would help bring in more profits for the museum's upkeep and expansion. Before they knew it, the car park was full and the theme park thriving. The volunteers are looking forward to bringing in more profits to expand the theme park area and safeguard the future of their railway museum. Alright, then we have the entry from Fidwell. All seems to be going well for Lil Slugger's family park. It is 4 years later and the charm and family fun of the golf course has attracted many guests. As the park's meager profits finally begin to accelerate, the management decides to splurge on every family park's dream, a small roller coaster. However, not everyone is excited about Lil Slugger's newfound success. Just next door, a local franchise of the big-time convenience store chain Dynagas has been keeping a close eye on the park. Although the increased traffic means more gasoline sales, the park's eventual expansion threatens their property lines, infrastructure, and sales of cheap hot dogs. The only way Dynagas can combat this intrusion may well be rides of their own to divert more guests to their facilities. Alright, here's the Stage 2 park of Paratrooper 44, previously known as Henry Ford. It had finally become a reality. Roger was now the proud owner of an amusement park. The good news was he had gotten it for such a low price. The bad news made itself apparent almost immediately. Very few people visited the park, and the original entrance buildings were starting to fall into disrepair. Roger found out that the wealthy people that the park was originally built for had moved on to more exclusive forms of entertainment, leaving people who had visited the park in the younger days as the only frequent visitors. Roger immediately went to work to improve the park's fortunes in the short term. First, he built a modern-looking pavilion for the carousel. After that, he purchased a scrambled eggs ride from a fair company that had gone bankrupt and situated it next to the snack area. Lastly, he replaced all the old crumbling ride entrance buildings with more modern plate glass ones. Even after all this, Roger realized the park was missing something, a roller coaster. As he still had some money left over after the previous park improvements, he bought a steel Wild Mouse coaster called Mad Mouse from another park that was in the process of closing down. The coaster was placed so that it would be visible from the road. By doing this, Roger hoped to make it the park's main attraction. The changes he made would get more people through the turnstiles, he was sure of it. Note, in addition to the aforementioned improvements, I completely rebuilt the parking lot to make it more realistic. Thanks to Ducklink for the tutorial video that helped me accomplish that. Well, that's really nice to hear. Alright, here's the entry from Herbart. The first months of An Dung's park were a great success. Lots of residents flocked to the park to enjoy the attractions he brought and restored with great care. After seeing his plans unfold successfully, he decided to take another risk. He bought an adjacent rice field, dried it up temporarily to excavate some ground, and then refilled it with water. This allowed him to lend boats to the guests to enjoy the beautiful surroundings. Also, a dream came true. An Dung bought the first roller coaster for the park. Since he did not have much land to work with and couldn't afford an expensive roller coaster, he chose a small shuttle model. After a couple of weeks of hard work, he was exhausted but overjoyed. Rong Lua had his first roller coaster. Okay, here's the story from Ayrton. Well, it's quite a long one, so I really hope you enjoy it. Anyway, let's get on with it. An alternate history of Ranchito, New Mexico, Part 2. For 5 straight years, the New Mexico State Fair brought excitement to the Ranchito area. Unfortunately, the city of Albuquerque petitioned successfully to have the State Fair return to the city. Cowboy Meckett saw an opportunity to build on his empire. He quickly bought up the lands surrounding Ranchito and established the Twin Warriors amusement park, named after the local Karasan tribes. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Cowboy Meckett purchased a used tilt-a-whirl from the State Fair and also bought a twist, which he named the Quailer, to kickstart the park. Meckett's chef, left-handed Geoff, was asked to head the brand new bistro in the park as well. There, Geoff's famous bison burgers would be the main event on a brilliant menu, highlighting some of the local favorites from his kitchens. However, not all was going well. The local Karasan Pueblo was beginning to get rather uneasy with the continued expansion of the park. Their community had grown in numbers and were enjoying the riches the area provided that tribe. Also, global unrest with the continued threats of World War II were always on the local community's minds. Many of the inhabitants of Ranchito either volunteered or were enlisted to fight. Residents were also quite worried about local rumors regarding secret weapons testing facilities. Stage 2. New beginnings while suspicion lingers. We take you into the park in the spring of 1945. Having just completed the construction of the new coal grinder coaster, the park was beginning to come alive. Guests were coming from all around to take in the excitement and thrills of the park and to distract them from the troubles worldwide. The bistro had become a major success as well and forced Geoff to hire some new wall staff, including one, Jane Papaya, who Geoff had become quite fond of. Headmaster M. Armarias was a different story. After seeing many of his past students go off to war and hearing of many of their fates, took to the drink. He lost his position as headmaster of the school and spent his time wasted away at the bar in Jen's saloon. Meanwhile, Jack, one of the park's mechanics, began working as an informant for a local radio station called WTSFM New Mexico. The radio station was becoming increasingly suspicious of the financial successes of Cowboy Mackett. Was there something to be found? Until next time. Alright, here's the story from Jean-Pierre Legrand. The great story for the city of Asana continues. They had very great results with the new cable car and the park that they wanted to expand it by building a new chairlift right next to the other one to increase the capacity. Also, the park got a major expansion. The Sunny Frontiers were allowed to build a coaster and a new flat ride. But it's not all cook and eye. The city also expanded their mine train line, Asana Steel Company, and built it right next to the park, which the park owners weren't happy about, because the city has said that they could use the ground for the park. Technical information: Twist Circus Mondaria, a yearly coming circus; Avenging Aviators 2, a motion simulator that came from a bankrupt park that sold the motion simulator to us to get the park going; Toad Express, a junior coaster with a height of 10 meters, the tallest building in or ride in Asana Berg Park, at a speed of 53 kilometers per hour. I did my best to read this story properly, but next time it might be a good idea to have someone proofread it, just to make it a little bit easier for me. Okay, here's the Stage 2 park from Canaifa. After a great opening season for Cannyland, local authorities realized that Cannyland is bringing in a lot of tourists to the region. To encourage even more tourism, they decide to give out a loan to Canaifa in order to let the park grow. They also sell a big part of land against low costs to help the park grow. Canaifa started dreaming of all the rides he could add in order to let the park grow. After looking at other parks, he decides to add a coaster to the park. With the loan of the local authorities and a chunk of his own money he inherited, he went out and bought himself a small family Gerstlauer bobsled coaster. Carefully they removed trees in order to make place for the coaster, but tried to keep as many in place to not lose the forest feel. Okay, then we have the park from Manticore. After some time, the farmer was pleasantly surprised with the success of the rides. Unfortunately, the horse had died, so the farmer began to look out for another spectacular ride. He found a well-used wacky worm for cheap. Since the ride is too big to be indoors, he relocated all the current rides inside the warehouse. At the cleared area, he assembled the wacky worm. Okay, here's the park from Mulpje. After the Battle of Drakenhof, Vlad quickly realized that one of his most beloved generals, Enox, had fallen in battle. This shocked the great leader, and out of respect for his friend, he wanted to give him and the other soldiers that had fallen a proper burial. So Vlad decided to build a cemetery for his soldiers. He also added a giant statue of Death to remind the Empire when they come that death is watching them close. After mourning the loss of its general, Vlad decided to hold council in the local monastery with all his sergeants, colonels and his last general. They needed to decide what to do next against a possible invasion from the Empire. But the problem was clear. Vlad needed a bigger army. So he asked his remaining general Milpje to go out and try to convince other settlements to join his cause. Even if only 3 of those would join him, it would already make a difference. While they held council in the monastery, Vlad heard strange voices in his head. He could not understand them, but he slept pretty bad the night before, so it was probably nothing to worry about. Alright, here's the park from Orange Lord. One night after the Herbert Park had shut down, Herbert's oldest son Frankie went for a walk in one of the nearby woods. That's when he saw a horrible sight, a huge wooden dragon heading straight for the park. He had no time to lose or else his father's dream would come to an end. Using his hatchet, he threw it at the dragon's side. The dragon roared in pain as Frankie used the stuck hatchet to climb up the dragon. Pulling out the hatchet, he ran up its back and with all his force slammed the hatchet into the head, killing it instantly. As the dragon died, it turned into a Virginia reel as Frankie seemed to consume its power. Then reality hit him. Where did this beast come from? How did he kill it so easily? And why did it turn into a roller coaster? He would need to find these answers, but for now he must rest. I really enjoyed this story. And then we have the story for QDude24. The restaurant and playground was a huge success, and the owner sold the park to Emmo Krekel, a manufacturer of fairground rides. Emmo started to do some big investments in the park, adding a kiddie coaster, the second ever Zero Tivoli fact, and a set of indoor dodgems to combat the usually bad Dutch weather. He also repaved all the paths and reduced the size of the restaurant's terrace. Okay, here's the story for R. Adrian 1994. It is still early days for Southmouth Pleasure Gardens, but the signs are looking positive. Skull Rock Crazy Golf has proven to be a big hit with the locals and has started to bring a modest number of tourists back to the city. Naturally, the business person behind the new attraction is keen to capitalize on the success of the park and is hopeful of attracting more guests to the attraction. However, the planned multi-million-pound expansion is not able to happen just yet, as the locals have objected to the big expansion professionally lined up and are adamant that the local duck pond shall not be removed, for now. The plans have had to be scaled back drastically due to the objections, but the park owner is determined to provide a high-quality range of attractions in the compact area granted to the park by the council. For now, the park owner has settled on a fantasy-themed family area as part of the latest expansion. It is home to a custom Vekoma family boomerang coaster, a carousel and a Ferris wheel, in addition to more beautiful gardens and a small restaurant. With attendance expected to shoot up at the pleasure gardens, the fussy locals will not be able to stand in the way of the park's expansion plans for much longer. Okay, here's the park from Ricardo Wodo. He's actually working on Witch World, so that's a recreation of a Dutch park that actually never really came into existence. Okay, in 2018, with a run of only 3 years, Witch World went bankrupt when they invested in a grand parking place and the castle grounds were abandoned once again. Nobody was willing to buy the area but one man, Ricky McWardo. Ricky was a rich man and a friend to Sir Ian MacLeod, a Scottish-born oil baron. Sir MacLeod had built a theme park called S. Uphen. Damn it. He actually used the name of the park that I couldn't pronounce in the previous round. Sir MacLeod had built a theme park called difficult name in Scotland. Ricky was impressed by this and wanted to make a theme park himself. Ricky had a lot of experience in real estate, and thus he got the land for a bargain. His hobby was theater, and he had some substantial knowledge about sightlines. So after he had bought the area, he began construction on a new theme park called Kingdom Ridge. He bought a brand new coaster for the park and reused some of the already bought rides. Now with the entrance part of the park finished, he arranged a soft opening for Kingdom Ridge to see the guests' initial reaction. Alright, then we have the park from Ruffle. David Hauptung saw huge potential in this investment and tried contacting investing companies to see if they would be willing to invest into the park. The first investor was from Legendary Inc., named Buzz Z. Buzz explained that to grow the park into a more family-focused target group, he suggested buying the monorail ride from Speelstad Oranje, but tweaking it a little bit. Through his collaboration, Legendary Inc. was now the proud sponsor of Hauptung Park. With some money left from Buzz Z, they also invested in an old shuttle loop. Where it came from is a mystery, but it was stored in a warehouse somewhere in Germany for years. Meanwhile, an extra road was being constructed, and there were preparations for a new parking lot. Hopefully that will turn out right. Okay, then we have the story from Shen Kitchen. Somewhere along the southern border, USA, 1 month later, Senor Reyes successfully evaded getting hammered down by the IRS. With help and forged paperwork, a junior coaster was built to make sense for the extra income. Of course, this help came at a cost. Reyes, being too greedy for his own good, made a deal with a few narcos just south of the border. Rather than paying a fee for the help, he agreed to mule certain products from his store to other locations. He turned his supermarket into a crime scene. A one-time favor, he thought to himself. Poor Reyes, if he only knew what was heading his way. Alright, here's the story from Scorpion. The first year went better than expected. Because of this, the park was able to expand it this season. A used bumper car and a butterfly have been added, as well as a small cafe and a picnic corner. The butterfly should actually be created in the first year, but have been postponed to this season due to a lack of approval. Alright, and here's a short and sweet story from Soap and Butter Sandwich. The Wastelanders are beginning to settle into their new life, and to keep themselves from getting bored, they have started planning out a couple of rides to build throughout the town. The town has also expanded with some streets being built. Unfortunately, they couldn't find enough stuff for one side as they used those material to build the ride. Now you can actually see in this park, might be easy to miss, but he actually raised the water level in the volcano a little bit. That might be foreshadowing. Also, for you, Soapy, I recommend having someone proofread your story, just to make it a little bit more easy for everybody to read. Okay, here's the park from Swag Titties. Just like Ayrton, his story is pretty long, so I hope you're comfortable. Alright, let's get on with it. A few months into running his backlot fun fair, Swaggart Titterton, the park owner, realized there was huge potential for his little amusement park. He had recently visited a small park outside of Albuquerque, which inspired him to explore the idea of a roller coaster to draw in more guests. But such a large investment would require a loan from the bank, or from Wyatt T. Hacks, his father, Dr. K. Link. To convince the wealthy doctor to invest more into the park required more than Swaggart had imagined. Dr. K. Link wanted creative control for a future park attraction, Endless Fried Chicken, and his wife, Amy Link, was to join him. Swaggart had no other choice, as his taste was expensive. He did not want to buy a used ride, he wanted a brand new steel coaster. Crestline coaster was built in the following weeks. It was built and themed to give riders the experience of feeling out of control weaving through the trees and over rock piles. The coaster brought in plenty of new guests, and Titterton knew deep down that he was onto something special. In addition to the coaster, a plaza was built in the new lot Dr. K. Link helped purchase. A scrambled eggs ride named Tornado was added, and a few small shops and utilities were added to support the wave of new visitors. With more guests comes a need for more staff. Herbie Third, Jay Mulp, and Melanie Mack joined the grounds crew, and Uncle Fanny, Titterton's adopted crazy uncle, moved to town, so he was offered a job. Esther Third and Mark E. Boyega were hired to help build and maintain future park expansions. Big man Ralph Rolfe was added to the security detail, now that the lot was getting tougher to oversee. To add to the entertainment, Fiddle Well the Pirate was hired as an entertainer. Down the road, the retail lot had started to see its first few guests. As the popularity of the Wings and Things fun fair grew, so did the surrounding area. An axolotl emporium opened up selling reptiles, amphibians, and a variety of other creepy creatures. And even further down the road, the Ollie Bolly's warehouse lot was seeing some more action than usual. With Dr. K. Link now on site and working on his future project, Emil Young is doing his best to preserve the area of its wildlife. The doctor seems to have no care for the natural ecosystem he purchased. Right now, it's all about making back that money he put into Titterton's dream. That and bucket of Mama Rias' yummy chicken. Okay, here's the park from the shack. He also submitted stage 1 and stage 2 at the same time. His story is really short, so I'll just stretch it out a bit so you can. I'll just drag it out a bit just so you can see more of the park. Alright, stage 2. The artist added their first roller coaster. It is a Pinfari coaster based on Holiday World's Firecracker. Alright, that was the story. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, here's the park from Trumafarium. The biowaste corporation that rendered the lake and its surroundings devastated has now completely left the site. The tycoon that was interested in embracing this project to turn the facilities and factory into a fulgent and lively amusement park have now decided to help the community. We're only a few weeks after the breaking point where everything went south, and things are already shaping up. People are showing up to show their gratitude and support for the park. 2 attractions have been installed at the site, and a smaller coaster is in its building state with the resuming parts on their way. Not many, but a few from the community have volunteered to work at the park. The main focus right now is to flatten the factory to the ground so new things can emerge in its place. The tubes that drained the water pond are moved and turned off. Everything in the factory has been shut down too. A lime water treatment boat will aid the bio-infected waters in hope to restore the pH values to less lethal levels. Maybe the lake and forest will see brighter days soon enough. Okay, here's the final stage 2 park. This one's from Zeklar, and he submitted his stage 1 and stage 2 parks at the same time. Anyway, let's get on with the story. The small park was getting traction in the big city of Nazcath, and Zeklar had made plans to build his first small coaster. With the small profit he made with the entrance fees and from the souvenirs, he was able to get his hands on an old Ferris wheel used junior coaster. The park was growing steadily. Alright, those were all the stories for this round of the Timeline Park. Now, as I mentioned before, you can always submit a stage for your park after the deadline. It might not show up in the video, but it will. Every stage that you build will add up to your eventual final park. So if you miss a stage, don't worry about it. You can always do that stage at a later moment and just try to catch up again. Okay, I really hope you enjoyed all these stories. I really hope you enjoyed all these parks. I just love seeing all these little parks expand, and yeah, I can't wait to see all your creations for the next month. And I hope to see many people who missed stage 2 still join in the next round. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again in the next one. See you later.